Hello, everyone. Thank you for checking out this special episode of Really Dicey. This is Manny, and I am here with.
Eduardo Carabano.
And today we're going to talk about Settlers of a Dead God for the old school Essentials role playing game. How are you, Eduardo?
I'm fine. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Yes, so this is a very, very fascinating book. I want to thank Exalted Funeral for sending me a copy of this. Even though the PDF is great, seeing it printed, it just has I don't know, a different feel. It's I love that it's the size of the old school essentials books. Seeing it like printed and seeing how the some of the duotone colors that you selected for this pop out, it's just fantastic. But yes, so this is a setting. Would you call this a setting slash adventure book?
Yeah, it's more like a setting. It includes an adventure, okay, at the end of the book, like an introductory adventure to the setting, but it's mainly a setting for all the school essentials.
Let's start at the beginning. How did this idea come about? It's such a unique premise.
Many years ago, I started playing role-playing games, like since I was 10 until I was, like I would say, 18 more or less. Then I stopped for a while. Now I'm 44, and I decided to play role-playing games again. That's when I found the fifth edition of Dungeons and Dragons and all the school's essentials as well, which I loved from the very beginning. I think the idea of doing something came from seeing all the role playing community around OSR and all the school essentials. I could see a lot of guys, a lot of people doing amazing adventures, settings, and awesome ideas. So I thought, why I should do that. I think I have cool ideas to this. I I also saw that in all the school's essentials, there are a lot of very nice adventures, but I wanted more settings. Okay, so I decided to create my own setting from the very beginning. Like since I was a bit little, I've been a bit obsessed with insects, which I like them a lot. I find them uh, completely different to anything else, and I think still we there are a lot of different species of insects that we don't know, and there if you start reading about them, you can find really interesting things about them. I thought, okay, why not combining these two elements, like the setting of all the school essentials and insects too. I thought, okay, just using insects, I don't think is enough. It's just going to be the same world like any other uh, Dungeons and Dragons setting, but just plain insects. I thought I need to add something else. So I wanted the world where they are to be an active part in the setting in the game. So that's why I thought, okay, why not in a giant dead corpse where the insects are like exploring it and finding out what it is, etc.
Yeah, I love the concept of this. It's and correct me if I'm wrong. This is a giant being at one point believing to be some sort of god or sort of deity, and your the setting this being is so immense that your characters are actually living in this what was a being, trying to explore what it is. There's a lot of mystery of like what's going on here. It has a very strong. You mentioned D&D. This to me has a very strong Dark Sun feel. I mean, it's not a desert, but it's the idea of a dead world, and
Yes.
that you're trying to survive in this, but it's so in a sense it's a horror element that you don't know what's beyond what you see.
Yeah.
Am I correct about that?
That's completely right. As the settlers, the insects are mainly like this corpse is gigantic. It's enormous. Okay, so mainly the main cities, the main civilizations are in the head. Okay, of the corpse. So basically, they can explore anything that goes down to the torso, arms, legs. That's really unexplored and dangerous too. Okay, and this mysterious gigantic being, which we call it the dead god. Okay, um, the settlers found out that they can explore also the interior. Okay, so basically anyone who plays this game can like say, okay, we're in the head and we're going to an adventure through the neck, but also they can go inside of the corpse, okay? And the interior is like where I find more dangerous and fascinating. We just like going into the guts of the corpse. I hope this doesn't sound too bloody or or gore or anything like that. It's quite I like the game itself. It has a big part which is dark and a bit horror because of the setting, but I think it depends on the dungeon master or the game director of the feel that he wants to give to a game. Like it can be a nice setting too, although it's in a corpse, okay. But I think it depends on the dungeon master, okay. But yeah, but this is how it is, yeah.
Yeah, I really like this because it reminds me of the a lot of the movies I watched as a kid. I believe it was called Inner Space. This movie from the '80s where people are shrunk down inside into a human body and they're exploring around.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different elements of tropes involved in this setting, which I enjoy very much. So, if I may ask, when you first decided to design this, where did your mind go first? Did you want it to do maybe like map out cities? Were you trying to think about like the story for this first? Where did your
Okay,
mind go?
that's a very good question. I'm as a role playing game director or player, I've been always very focused on character, species, races, professions. Okay, anytime I open a Dungeons and Dragons like new setting or any RPG book, the first thing I saw is the playable races or species or professions, and this is where I started. I was like, it would be really cool to have a beetle, like someone can play as a beetle, or someone can play as a bee, or someone can play as a moth. Okay, so that this is where I started designing the playable races. Okay, from the playable races or species, sorry, from the playable species, I started them thinking more about the world itself, the cities, the creatures, etc.
And if I may ask, I noticed you picked Old School Essentials as the rule set for this world. You could have picked D&D 5e. You could have done another system if you wanted to. What is it about Old School Essentials that made you feel like, okay, this is what I'm going to use for? This is what will be a perfect um, rule set for this world.
I find a very nice community in all the school essentials. I like the authors that are out there that are creating content. Um, I think they are in terms of reaching out new players because I'm a new author. I think it was a good way. Like there are some people playing it in America, also in Spain. It's been translated to Spanish, so I thought it was a good way of getting to new players too. It never really crossed my mind doing it for fifth edition because I mean they're insects, they're exploring, and they are supposed to die at some point. So I found the fifth edition like for this setting, the characters become too powerful or difficult to kill. So I thought, okay, this setting is better. I mean, they're supposed to die quick. I mean, they're exploring a corpse. There's a lot of dangers out there, and if you see insects, it's very easy. They die easily too. So I thought that was the best setting. I also I like I basically like a lot the how it. I mean, it's all the basic rules, all the school essentials, but how it's been laid out, how it's explained, I really like it. Yeah.
And yeah, this is maybe just a little bit under 100 pages, but you have like cities, you have so many things not only mapped out, but you also have a lot of charts available. So that this is a very fluid world, which makes sense. It's a body it was a body, and the body has so many different places to explore. I love that there's like a fluidity, so that this game can change if the game master wants to either homebrewed or by the charts you have available. Um, was that fun to create all these like civilizations inside this
Yeah,
corpse?
yeah, I loved it. I love creating new tables for dungeon masters. That's one of the things when I'm writing that I do the quickest and I really enjoy it. I'm quite bad or a bit lazy when I have to create proper adventures or dungeons. I don't know why. It's just like that. So creating all this new table, like making up new things, like tools for the dungeon master, was really nice. It was really nice. It was like it was in my mind from the very beginning. Also, I wanted to give as a dungeon master, I just wanted to give tools to other dungeon masters that they can customize this world and make it their own, or maybe easier to create their own stuff. Okay, well, creating the civilizations in the Dead God, it was it was nice. I mean, I had the idea from the beginning, so just writing it down. I I love the idea of like it happens in the real world. Like there's an event, and around it you have different interpretations of it. It can be political views, it can be religious views. So I wanted to give something like that. So basically, there's a dead corpse, and around it there are different groups or factions or religious groups interpreting how it is in different ways. So sometimes they are not agreeing and they just fight or argue, etc. So I thought, okay, this is really nice. It creates more like a more like a dynamic world. Like there's not only one religion. We have different type of religions. Some of them say you shouldn't access the interior of the dead god. Others says, yeah, you have to go and explore it and conquer it, like in a crusade or something like that. Other people say the dead god is dead, or others say that the dead god is alive. He's not dead. So there's a lot of lot of disagreements. I guess like it happens in real life too. So that was nice to write. I think that the process of writing it itself, like getting the idea out there, was quite quick. Like if I see it, I wrote this down in 3-4 months more or less. That was quite easy. The rest of the project was more like art, illustrations, editing, etc. Okay.
Is there any particular location in this book that made a great impression on your players?
Well, it's mainly the interior of the Dead God. It was like when I played my first adventures there, it just as I made basically all the rules that I'm using is all the school essentials, but in the interior of the Dead God there are some specific rules, like saying okay, there are some areas. I mix it a bit with the radiation, okay, like if it's a bit like nuclear radiation, okay, so as it's the body of a dead god, there's magic and there's powers there and there's the unknown. So yeah, you have the risk of the characters have the risk of suffering mutations and encountering very dangerous creatures. So I think it was the interior of the dead god that was the most what they enjoyed the most. Okay.
Let me ask you a little bit about making characters for this setting. You mentioned about characters being insects. So, for anyone that has the old school essentials rules and the books for it, what are some of the, uh, I guess, new options available for players to be?
Well, yeah, you basically choose a species of insectoid, which there are six different. Okay, like bit. I call it like the insect name because they have different names in the books, like the beetle, moth, bee. Some the one is like a kind of worm, a spider, and I also added one a bit random, which is like a mushroom. Okay, you can play like a mushroom folk. Okay, depending on there's no professions attached to it. Like if you are a bit like in all the schools essential, no, you choose to play a dwarf or an elf, and that's it. Okay, so your options are linked to the species that you choose. Okay, and I wanted also to add within the species that they choose different options, okay, linked to the different type of species that it exists within the insects, okay, like a beetle can be very different depending on the species of beetle, okay. So I give different options that obviously have an impact if they get more of a specific characteristic or something, okay. And some of them they have magic powers, like the mushroom folk, which is called fungi, and the moth, which is called mothkin. They have also magic powers, so they can like do spells and stuff.
Hmm.
It's a bit like the six species that I did. I try to make them a bit balanced. So like the beetle can be a bit more similar to a warrior or a fighter. The spider is a bit more similar to a rogue. The modkin to a wizard. The mushroom is more similar to a cleric. Okay, so I just to give them a bit of balance to a character, and they can choose someone who can be in fighting, another trying to unlock a door or something like that.
Tell us a little bit about the optional stress rules you have here. I find it really interesting.
Okay, the regarding the optional stress rules, it's a part that I I mean, I love OSE, but and I use the rules of all the schools essentials, okay. But I wanted to give a bit of my own flavor to the setting. As I mean, they are not humans, and they are insects, etc. And they are exploring something that is gigantic, okay. So I wanted to. I put first in the book I put it as they are optional, okay. Like if anyone doesn't want, any dungeon master doesn't want to use them, uh, he can leave them and just play without them, okay. Um, so basically, what I did is like when the characters are exploring the corpse of the dead god, um, they to represent the instinct of the insectoids, okay, and the effects of the exploration. I mean, we're like insects are animal beings that a big part of their behavior is based on instincts, okay. So I wanted to represent this in the game, and I thought, okay, okay, any player or character can do can take choices, okay, make choices during the game, but there must be something representing the instinct of the insect, okay. So there are some conditions, like they have to do a wisdom check when there are some situations, okay. And depend if they obviously if they fail this stress check, okay, they can do random behaviors like cannibalism. uh they suddenly think that they need more provisions, so they go somewhere else. They are afraid of other species and they just try to go with their own species, or suddenly they need to go back to their own nest, something like that, okay. I think I wanted to give to the option to the dungeon master of playing with what's more like an insect, okay, like playing with these instincts that they might have. Most of the options like this that I written in the book, like regarding character creation, these optional rules, etc., are based in insects. Okay, this is like obviously I don't I don't some research about this, and when I'm writing about moths or I'm writing about beetles, I I do a bit of research before, and if there's something interesting that I find about them, I'm like, okay, this can be really cool for the game. You know what I mean? Like, and that's a nice way to learn a bit more about insects. Like as I was saying in the beginning of the interview, they are really fascinating things about them. And I think for role playing games or Dungeons and Dragons and any role playing games, they they can really be used or have more protagonism than they have now. Okay, they can really be like they can be some really deadly creatures or species, or really like random behaviors that can give you some ideas for your game. Okay, so I encourage any dungeon master to include more insects or insect ideas in his or her game.
Wow. It I think you might be the first interviewer I've talked to that actually had to study science in order to make your game happen. Um, oh, that's really fascinating. If if I may ask, was there any fact or anything that you learned during this process that really surprised you about insects?
Well, for example, yeah, there are some that are really interesting. Um, like for example, ants uh, can farm. They do some kind of farming with I don't know the word in English, with some very little insects smaller than them, pulgones, which you find is that's the word in Spanish, okay, pulgon, that you find in the leaves of some plants, and they use them as we use cows, for example. They do farming with them, like it's like proper. They take care of them, and they take some kind of liquid from these insects, but they take care of them. That's 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 like ants do proper farming. I'm like, okay, that's really fascinating. Other things are, for example, a fly can live up to I don't know how long, for some time, without its own head. Okay, I found that really fascinating. Yes, some of that are like about butterflies that they can fly kilometers and kilometers long distances. Um, there are lots out there. I could I could spend a lot of time talking about them, and most of them are fascinating. Like, I don't know, you think, for example, I don't know, grasshoppers, they can jump long distances, but they can't bite you. Like, you can hold on in your hand. Some people think they might bite you, but they can't bite. They only think of the only weapon is like jumping and escaping. So yeah, there are a lot of things out there about insects that we don't really know. You know what I mean? Like, we just like most I find them fascinating because, like, obviously nobody likes insects. No, nobody likes seeing an ant or unless you're like a butterfly or something like that. Nobody likes them, which is normal because you think, oh my god, there's gonna be a pest or a nest around here, etc. But I think it's nice to know more about them. That we know very little about them, which is quite nice. If you think about them, like, they're totally different than the rest of the animals. It's like they came from another planet. If you think about their shape and how they live, how different they are from us, it's like a totally different species. No, I find that fascinating.
Hmm. So let's talk a little bit about the some of the dangers in this world. I see you have a section for creatures as well. What kind of dangers can players expect being in this setting?
Well, it can be. I I wanted to do in the game. Obviously, there is a big part of dangers coming from the world itself. The world is a dangerous place. So when you are exploring, even if it's in the surface of the dead god, I made some exploring tables. Okay, where you can find some dangers, because at the end of the day, you're just, like I said from the beginning, the head is more or less there are civilizations. If you start going down, there might be treasures and things unknown, but also a lot of dangers. There is the dangers inside of the dead god that come from, like, more creatures, okay, more deadly creatures, and also the radiation itself, as the corpse it has some magic. There's some radiation, and it can give you powers, but it can mess you up with mutations and stuff like that. And also, I wanted to give a bit of dangers from the, like, the factions of the group of the game, a bit of intrigue. So there are some parts where maybe the adventurers can be accused by a religious group of heresy, and they need to prove it's not like that. Or maybe there's a powerful group that thinks that another group is trying to plot against them, so he might hire the characters to fight against the other, etc. So there's a bit of intrigue because of all these power groups.
So, how self-contained is this setting? Meaning, if I had a group of player characters in another setting that we're playing at, could I take these characters if they just suddenly teleported into this setting? Is can the setting still work for them? Is that allowed, or is this book made for just for insect characters?
That's a really cool idea. You could do that. I seriously, I it didn't cross my mind this, but I think it's a really cool idea. Like, if you are a dungeon master and you have your own campaign, your own classic campaign, and somehow you decide that through some dimensional portal or something, your characters are teletransported to this setting, that would be really cool. I think I think that would be really cool. I mean, they'll be obviously they totally different than the rest of the species because they might be human or elves or dwarves or whatever, and they're gonna be totally different than the insects. But that will work nicely. I didn't think about it, to be honest, but I don't. But now I'm thinking about it. I think you can spend a few sessions playing here and maybe trying to get some kind of magic item from the dead god, or maybe trying to find their way out of this world because it's like a nightmare for them. That that can work really nicely.
And what can you share with us about the introductory adventure? Obviously, we don't want to spoil too much.
It's a when as I said in the interview, is one of the things that I struggle the most. Like, I like writing settings, but not adventures itself. But I thought, okay, the book needs an adventure. Like, it must have something. So I want that someone who buys this game doesn't need anything else to play. I mean, you just get the game. The all the school essential rule or OSR rules are out there, digital, completely free. I mean, you can always buy the book, but you can print them online. They're available and free. And you just take the book and start playing. I wanted something like that. And then after playing that adventure, you decide if you want to continue playing it, and I give you tools to develop your own world or your version of the dead god. So I have to say it's a very classic adventure. Okay, like, it's basically the adventures, they need to find something, and obviously like an object for someone, and obviously they need to travel inside the to the interior of the dead god. So it's like a bit of an introduction of some of the creatures or some of the dangers of the interior of the dead god. I also, I think the work that the illustrator did with the map, I think it's really nice. We didn't use basically the uh, uh, sort of a normal map. He added a lot of illustration, so we work on okay, even if it's a, some people might find it as a short typical adventure. I wanted to give like a nice introduction to the game, and I thought, okay, coming with nice illustrations of the map might help the dungeon master to play it.
I love the artwork in this book. How much did you have a say when it came to the artwork for this? How did it all come about?
That's a very good question because it's been I work with Francois Licata, which is a Belgium guy. Um, you can find him in Twitter. It's Rodarounet. I can give you a link later. He's. I just found him in ArtStation. Before when before like finishing the game, I started looking for some illustrators and asking around, and when I found his art, I really thought, okay, he has the this dark a style that I really like. So I contacted him, and it was really fluent communication from the beginning. And I was really specific when I sent him the first commission. Like it was the beetle, the Scarafagus, the beetle guy, the beetle folk. Okay, it was the Scarafagus, and I remember sending him loads, very specific. I want this like this, blah 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 blah. And he kind of followed some of the things that I said, and others he added something, and it really worked, really nice. I loved it from the very beginning. So I was like, okay, this is it. I'm going to trust this guy, and he has a very big part on how the insectoid looks because from the beginning, I don't know, because I'm not an illustrator, I thought out, okay, they are insectoids, they must have a bit of a bit of humanoid features, but
Mhm.
he went through more like insect features. If you see them, they remind you more of an insect than a humanoid, okay? So this is his part. This is where he came, and I really loved. Like it was just like we connected very well, and it was like he was reading my mind from the very beginning. Like it's been really a pleasure working with him, and I have to say anything that I release in the future with the for this setting, it has to be him. I mean, I can't right now. I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of illustrators out there, but I just want to be him doing it. That's that's how much I'm in love with the art
Mhm.
that he's done. So it's been a pleasure, and it really helped in giving a shape to this project. He has an amazing part, a big part in this project.
Mm. Yeah, I mentioned before that this some of this reminds me of Dark Sun. Definitely the uh, player races you can be definitely reminds me of that. Of thri-kreens. I don't know if people remember that still from Dark Sun, that
Yeah.
playable race, but I love that about this game. I it also gives me like, ooh, now that if someone wants to play an insect character in some other world, I could use this book as a template for that as well. Um, I love the options that this book has. I love the setting, but there's so many things you can do with this. Even if you don't want to play inside a dead god, but there's so many like setting ideas you have in here. So many charts and ideas that you can just take that and put it somewhere else if you want.
Yeah, totally. And I wanted to give that to the dungeon master. Like, my the setting is I find it quite unique, and maybe not every game director likes everything of it, but maybe you think, okay, I might take the Beatle folk, and I might take him into my own setting, or I might take this idea of the stress rules, or I might take this idea of this religious group or of this creature. So just to give like you don't need to play like straight like following everything. I mean like I can see from you have also a lot of books of role playing games, and probably when you play too, you get ideas from this book, another idea from another book, another idea from another setting. So that can be an option too. Like if a dungeon master wants to get character creation ideas or creatures ideas or anything, it's also, I'm not playing in the Dead God. That can work out too, definitely.
What's great about this book also, I was thinking as I was looking through this, so there's another um, uh, role playing game called Mouse Ritter where you play mice having adventures and everything. But I have some kids in my life that would prefer to be something a little bit more monstrous. And I'm looking at this like, oh, maybe they could play insect creatures, and I sort of hinted at that. They love the idea of that, So it's funny. I know in the beginning of our interview we mentioned like this could be maybe for some people this could seem maybe gory or something like that. But honestly, looking through this book, it's. I mean, unless you find insects scary, that yes, okay, I can see that. For the most part, but though, if you love insects, you could tell you love insects from this book because there's this fun factor involved. I can't explain it. It's like this a passion you can see in
Yeah.
the book um, that you could do all sorts of fun things with it. I'm sorry, I know I'm going a little ranty
That,
here,
that's
going a bit of a rant about this, but yeah, I just love how this book can be so many things. Um, am I hope I hope I'm not going beyond the
no,
scope of what you envisioned.
that's absolutely correct. And I have to say, since I finished writing this book, obviously there's been a bit of time. It was delayed, and we had to finish some illustrations. Then, well, editing, layout, and during this time, I thought, okay, I'm going to write another setting different from this one because I had the feeling like I need a break from this. I mean, I've been so involved into it that okay, if someone is doing the layout, well, someone is doing the layout, I'm going to write another setting, and I think I have some nice ideas written out there, like resting right now, but they didn't really progress because in the back of my head I like I need to continue making this world with grow. Okay, I can make it grow. I can give more things. I can give more character options or new cities or new places to explore or new creatures or new adventures. So that's what I've been focused in the last few months, like planning. Okay, what's next after this? I don't want it to be uh, just a book, just one setting, and that's it. Actually, I don't like that when I see a setting and I want to continue it. I mean, like I want to write it. It's not so much about making money; it's about I really love it, so I want to continue. I have some plans of releasing some content from September, like a kind of scene that that gives you maybe a new playable race, two new creatures, some new tables, and maybe I don't know a little adventure, maybe a little more information about the Dead God, and give it to the people who's out there. Maybe to find out more players to play it, or maybe for the dungeon masters who are playing it already to give them more content. So I think I have the feeling there is a world that it can grow. It can grow. It can be added a lot of things. It's so big that there's a lot of things to be added. So if anyone is interested in in this collaborating or anything, I'm totally open here because I would love to know ideas from the community that are, I'm sure they have really nice ideas, probably some of them even way better than mine, because they have another point of view. I mean, so I find that fascinating too.
There's a sort of a irony, I guess. The idea that you're exploring this dead being, but at the same time, like there's a for players, this is like almost like a new birth of ideas that can happen in this world. So I love that. I love that there's so many great things that can happen here, and it's good to hear that there'll be sounds like it's like there'll be more books about this in the future about the setting.
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely I mean, I can't I can't write anything else right now, so that's where my mind is at the moment. I have to say, until the book wasn't released, it was more like ideas in my head. When once the book is being printed and it's on sale, I like, yes. Now I started I started writing again.
So, Eduardo, thank you so much for taking the time to talk about Settlers of a Dead God. Is there anything else about this book that I haven't asked you about that you wanted to share?
No, I think the seriously the questions have been really nice. I love the questions. Yeah, I mean they a lot of them really interesting. Obviously, there's I just mentioned the illustrator Francois, but there's been all the team of Exalted Funeral helping me editing, and Gontillo, the layout. He did the layout. He's been also an amazing part of this, a big part of this. So beside me and the illustrator or illustrator and me, sorry, there's been a another team of people like really helpful, and I think all the questions have been amazing. I really like them, and I hope. Well, I just hope anyone enjoys the game as much as I enjoyed writing it. That's it.
And this book is currently out for purchase.
Yes, it's available at the Exalted Funeral website. Anyone who wants to see a bit for free, they can download a free introductory version of the book, which is like 15 pages. And if you like it, buy it. So as you can choose also the PDF or the physical copy. But yeah, it's totally available right now.
Excellent, excellent. And I'll put links for it in the description below. Um, Again, Eduardo, thank you so much for the time to talk to you about Settlers of a Dead God. Available right now to Exalted Funeral for the Old School Essentials role playing game. And viewers and listeners, thank you for tuning in. Stay safe out there. We'll see you next time.